that there's been over 200,000 Australians vaccinated, a very important milestone. Those numbers are growing very quickly every day.
Australians aged 70 and over, almost 1 million healthcare workers, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people aged 55 and over will make up 2/3 of those eligible from next week. Crucially, people with underlying medical conditions, including those with a disability, will also be eligible. Conditions including heart disease, chronic lung or liver disease, and severe obesity. Also, if you live with poorly controlled blood pressure or neurological conditions, including stroke, MS, Parkinson's, cerebral palsy, dementia or motor neurone disease, you too may be eligible. Rounding out Phase 1B will be critical and high-risk workers in defence, police, fire and meat processing. So that's 6 million more Aussies due for their shots.
And even if you are eligible, it may not be possible to make an appointment for some weeks. Be patient. The appointments will increase significantly over the next month.
Professor Mary Louise McLaws has been watching the rollout, and she joins us now. Mary Louise, there's the question of who is eligible, then there's the question of how you get it. And I noticed that pollies were at each other's throats today over missing that 4 million doses by the end of March goal. Can you just tell us, without the politics, just straight, how badly are we doing with this at the moment?
Good evening, Waleed. We're not doing that well for looking after the frontline group. We need to increase the rollout for them, the 1A, to 10 times the amount of injections per day. That's the group that we should be really worried about, because they're the ones that stop the infection coming into the community, because they get Pfizer, and Pfizer has a very good blocking mechanism to it. As for the AstraZeneca, if they're slowly rolling out the Pfizer, they'll still slowly roll out the AstraZeneca. So don't expect it to be rapid. It will be slow because it's a huge undertaking. So we're not going to be able to open up the borders anytime soon, particularly when there's a 3-month gap between your first AstraZeneca and your second, because that really increases your body's ability to build up the correct antibody level. So that's 3 months from the first person that gets it to, let's say, 21 million of us, to then having our second dose. That's huge. And I don't think we'll be opening up the borders until early next year, maybe March.
Well, also the GPs, they say they were caught completely off guard, many of them today, when their phones started ringing off the hook when the list of clinics went up. I mean, that's not a good sign either, that they're in the dark.
Yes, it's not a good sign. It says that it looks great on paper, but actually getting the product to the GPs, to the pharmacies, is another thing, and then getting the people there. Now, I hear that their phones have been rung off the wall, but that's good in one way, because that means that people are enthusiastic about getting a vaccine. So well done, Australians. But yes, we need to get the product to the injectors so that we can actually start rolling it out much faster than what the Pfizer is being rolled out.
Mary Louise, my mum's in her 70s. She's also got an autoimmune disease, and she's had to put up with me for her whole life. So she's had it pretty rough. But she's been told that in her case, she mightn't want to take it, and specialists still looking into it. It might be dangerous for her to take it. Is there enough information about cases like hers?
Andy, there's probably not enough. There's a great expectation that people will get onto the web. Not everybody likes to navigate the web, or not everybody has a computer. And particularly those that are a little older, they may not feel up to being able to navigate to find it out. So I would ask them to please talk to their GP before it's their turn to decide what the benefits are versus the risk. So the GP and the patient may decide that the risks outweigh the benefits. But that conversation needs to be done sooner than later, and the government needs to basically make an ad to tell people. So, of course, GPs, of course, aren't overrun with those sort of questions as well.
Professor, every time I hear some bad news stories about a vaccine, it's always the one we're getting. It's always AstraZeneca. Did we back the wrong horse here?
Well, it would have been nice had we backed another couple of horses just in case AstraZeneca does look as if it has a problem. I mean, that severe outcome is rare. When I looked at the numbers, it looked as if those 7 cases that had very serious clots in the brain were within an expected level. But AstraZeneca and the European Medical Association may know more than I do. So in the meantime, it would be great if we could also have an approval by the TGA for Novavax as well, because that's particularly good for the elderly and it's also good for people who want to make a decision not to have AstraZeneca. So if they want to get vaccinated, they have a choice.
Mary Louise, thank you so much for joining us tonight, especially because it is your birthday tonight. You love the vaccine that much, you're coming on to talk about it on your birthday.
Oh, no, it's because I love you.
Oh, well,
thank you very much.
That.
Well, we've actually got you some vaccination for your birthday, if you would.
But unfortunately, it is AstraZeneca. Sorry.
A bouquet of vaccine.
Thanks, Mary Louise.
It's a pleasure. Take care.
With so much content online, it's sometimes hard to keep up with it all. And let's face it, who has the time? The Project YouTube has you covered with the stories that matter. Hit subscribe for a daily list of the news that you need to know.